Hadestown by composer Anais Mitchell is a folk opera. The story is told through continuous music, building music to the most climatic point in the show. In Hadestown, when Orpheus is following Eurydice out from hell, the tension builds along with the music until suddenly Orpheus turns around and the audience is left shocked in a complete silence. So in this image, this is the song in which they're leaving hell, and you can see that the instrumentation here, eventually, when Orpheus turns back around, goes silent, and all of the instruments are at a rest, leaving the audience in complete silence with the shock of the plot point. Anyway, the musical intention builds to a complete silence, allowing the audience to clearly recognize and experience the dramatic twist of the show. Notably, musical composers develop their own style and sound. This allows the listeners to recognize specific composers' work within musicals. A classic example of this is musical theater composer Stephen Sondheim. In an interview with the Library of Congress, Stephen Sondheim explains that he primarily composes at the piano. Sondheim notes he purposefully selects harmonies that dictate the specific mood and narrative intention of a scene. Contrastingly, composer Jason Robert Brown uses different instrumental patterns of the melody instead of the harmony like Sondheim to establish emotions and objectives. In an interview by Mike Holowitz from the Library of Congress, Jason Robert Brown discusses his process of writing music. Using his background as a jazz and gospel pianist, Brown writes his music using chordal patterns. Another musical strategy is the development of motifs, a recurring musical theme that acts as a callback for audiences. Stephen Sondheim famously uses these techniques notably in his show Into the Woods to establish character identity. For instance, the musical theme introduced during Cinderella's first appearance later evolves into the primary melody of her solo number. By assigning these specific patterns, the composer allows the audience to subconsciously associate a musical sound with each character's journey. Dr. Justin Henry Rubin, a musical professor from the University of Minnesota, teaches how to compose a musical theme and its variations. Dr. Rubin teaches that you must establish the musical theme by either coming up with a melody that represents a character or a storytelling moment, and that simply attracts your ear. From there, you create different variations of the original theme that can all be recognized as specific characters or moments. To complete this project, I followed my research question. Therefore, my novel-to-musical adaptation of Mad Honey consists of two parts. The first is to create an outline of the show from the novel. The next, to create music and lyrics able to tell the story of Mad Honey. To create a cohesive and successful adaptation of Mad Honey, I used strategies from the adapters of Phantom of the Opera of only including necessary characters into the show. Each chapter in Mad Honey is either told from the perspective of the character Lily or Olivia, so I decided to create a musical score that follows this structure. I determined that only the characters that directly interact with either Lily or Olivia should stay included, allowing Lily and Olivia to remain the central figures of the show. With this, I narrowed my list of included characters to 10. So I used Google Gemini to generate this image with the list of 10 characters that I decided to include in the score and their relationships to each other to help show how all of the characters are connected. Okay. To accurately tell the story of Mad Honey, my initial target was to compose 11 to 15 songs for the score. This is because there are 22 chapters, including the epilogue, in the novel. And while each chapter is vitally important to the development of the story, having a goal of 11 to 15 songs allowed me freedom as a composer to combine or lengthen different moments of the story as I was writing. Ultimately, after finishing the score, Mad Honey comprised of 11 songs and 2 reprises, a shortened version of a previously heard song, creating an original score of 13 numbers. Inspired by Sondheim, I created musical motifs for 2 major themes of the show. The first theme was inspired by the title of the show, Mad Honey. In the novel, Pico and Boylan play with the effects of Mad Honey, using the symbolism of honey to represent the chaos and confusion happening in the character's life. Typically in music, the pentatonic scale, which is the scale on the top, is known for its dreamlike and eerie feel. So that scale sounds like... So using Dr. Rubin's method to create a melodic theme, I created a six-note riff off of the pentatonic scale as a motif to show this eerie effect, metaphorically associated with the bees. So the theme that I created sounds like this. This theme appears every time there is an interaction with the bees, specifically as an underscore to moments when Olivia is directly addressing the audience to deliver monologues on the science behind bees and beekeeping. Additionally, to associate this motif with the broader metaphor of chaos and confusion that is clinically caused by the drug mad honey, this theme also plays in moments of death and in violent situations. I also created a musical motif based off the key of A major on an E major chord to represent the experience of love. I chose this key to show love because as a major key, it can be associated with images and feelings of joy and happiness. Love is a common and reoccurring theme throughout Mad Honey, so this theme is present as the melody for the love song If the World is Over between Asher and Lily. Asher is Olivia's son, so her boyfriend. And the first part of their song sounds like this. I need you to hold me closer. Just one touch, just one more time. I need you for when the world is over. I don't understand why. However, at the end of the novel, Olivia reunites with an old friend, finally finding the comfort and love she has always longed for in a partner. At the beginning of the finale, the love motif plays exactly as it did in If the World is Over, yet the melodic line of the lyrics is different from If the World is Over to distinguish Asher and Lily's young and naive love from Olivia and her new partner's newfound but mature love. So you hear the same theme underneath it, but the melody is going to sound different. So this melody sounds like, hold me close, hold me tight, breathe my name, shut out the lights. In the musical, The Last 5 Years by Jason Robert Brown, his ballad of I'm Still Hurting, oh, wrong card. Okay, so the opening is a complex song named The Opening. The Opening is an example of a long-form song in which multiple scenes take place. This song exists through each of the separate scenes, but for each scene, the melody and the underscore change to show a shift in the setting. For my purposes of composing the opening, I determined that there are 5 separate scenes in this song, all of which have a different musical theme. To connect each musical theme, I composed an interlude which plays between the themes to create one cohesive song. So the opening starts out when Olivia is talking about how much she wants to have a daughter. And that underscoring her dialogue is, and then we eventually go to the interlude, which transitions into Asher's birth and a flashback to the bees, so we hear the bee theme again. And transition back into the present, which is in Olivia's kitchen, back with Asher, so we hear a recurring version of the theme from the first scene. And then the interlude, which transitions back into a flashback, which is the 4th scene between Olivia and the first time she meets her abusive ex-husband, Braden. Notice that even though this is a scene where they're supposed to be falling in love, the love theme does not play as a foreshadowing moment to the audience so that we know that this love is not the kind of love that we want to be sharing with our audiences. So instead, we hear this theme. And then eventually, as the show flashes back, we go into the present again, and everything builds up until the moment where we find out Lily is dead. Okay, so in the musical The Last 5 Years by Jason Robert Brown, his ballad I'm Still Hurting uses a repeated 4-chord instrumental pattern under a melody. So this is... Jamie is over and Jamie is gone. So, in Mad Honey, I wrote a ballad called What It Means to Be a Woman, repeating this strategy. So I used 4 chords. What does it mean to be a woman? What does it mean in this world? Why do we exist adjacent to the rest? She was just a little girl. Okay. So yeah, this pattern creates movements behind the ballad, making the audience more engaged in a song as they start to look for and recognize the repeated chords throughout a piece. Limitations. One limitation is that my project focuses solely on musical composition. So while I composed underscores for key moments like the B motif for Olivia's monologues, the actual vibrato or spoken dialogue has not yet been written. Consequently, the show is not currently stage ready, as a full script is required to bridge the songs and complete the narrative. Another limitation is that when using strategies from other composers like Sondheim, Brown, and Mitchell, the music may be viewed as a stylistic homage to those composers rather than as my own original work. Because this interpretation of music is largely subjective, it is difficult to determine what makes a composer sound unique. Also, a full musical requires a complete orchestration of each song. This means many other instruments would be added to the score, each further enhancing the melodies and harmonies of the score. This is shown a full example of Into the Woods, the score, versus mine, which only has 3 instruments. However, for this project, I was able to create an outline of the songs using piano, vocals, and sometimes cello, so the nuances of musical variety are missed in the absence of added instrumentation. Additionally, because this musical is being well adapted from a well-known novel, some audience members may be familiar with the plot before they see the show, which limits the control I have as a composer, so the audience may be surprised or affected by an event in the show. The audience members may also have preconceived notions about the characters, which limits the composer's ability to portray characters creatively and uniquely. Because of the importance of the 2 roles in the show being trans, this show calls for and will allow more trans actors the opportunity to be cast. Throughout the literary field, stories once told through novel and form can turn into performances, confronting audience with direct and raw representations that transcend their original literary works. Bridging the gap between Mad Honey the novel and musical form allows the lives and experiences of these characters to be presented face-on to audiences. This playable, inclusive show is an addition to the musical theater community, which in its creation and eventually staged version will bring together different experiences of what it means to be a woman alive, creating social discourse and conversation that pushes boundaries of the theater industry and society as a whole. Oh, thank you. And my sources are available upon request. Yeah.
Have you considered after this, like continuing working on this and developing it into an actual musical?
Yeah, that's definitely something I've considered. I think the next step to host like a Sits Probe, which is just a sung-through version of the show, which would be very doable considering I have all the music but no dialogue. And then from there, I would probably work with someone else and probably the authors themselves to try to create a full abridged script. So I actually reached out to one of the other authors. So there's Jodi Picoult, but then Jennifer Finney Boylan is actually trans herself. So I reached out to her to try to get help in creating this project and also to try to maintain its originality. And I was ghosted. So that would definitely be something to add into collaboration in the future as we work more like performers and actors and shape this musical into something ready for the stage. Yeah. Yeah. Like the music or the musical? Like the okay. I really like the idea of so in one of the songs in so this song, Hey, is when Brandon and Olivia officially meet not in a flashback. And this song is her reflection of that when she realizes that she is in an abusive relationship with Braden. And the way that I try to balance like the themes of darkness and lightness is for that song, I composed a major song. So it sounds like it should be happy and it should be something that's like and great. And then the lyrics in it kind of point to something darker. So it's just very underlying darkness, which kind of goes along with the theme of the show that we're all living in this like really like awesome like world, but we're all kind of like experiencing this like type of underlying darkness. Yeah. Yeah, I think you should just go for it. I started writing music when I was in like, oh God, I've like written music my whole life, and some of my first songs are so bad. But I think my suggestion is to listen to as much music as you can, like different styles, different people, and then from there you can like create your own style and your like own version of music. And yeah, just keep writing, keep trying things out, take things from experiences. I get really motivated when I hear specific words or phrases, and then yeah, just like keep writing. You know, I did, and what I found actually when writing this is that I write ballads really well, and I struggle writing with songs that are a little bit more up-tempo. So I like challenged myself in the opening to create something more up-tempo, and then also in Trial by Flight, which is this really long court song that is just one really long court scene, but I basically found that with more up-tempo music, you can create more of a chaotic feeling, and you can add in like more instruments and like little like tiny like staccato snippets of things, which just adds to like the chaos. And then from there, when you calm down to a slower tempo, that is when you want something to be very, very clearly stated outside of the chaos. So yeah, that's what I discovered. Yeah. What? My favorite song is probably If the World Is Over, because that was the first song that I wrote. And I actually didn't get to play you guys the complete chorus of it, which is the first part that was written. And yeah, it was great because it kind of inspired the rest of the musical. So I'm very thankful for that. Yeah. Awesome.